4, 3, 2, 1. Hey there, Spiritual Dope. I'm on today with Kurtis Lee Thomas. He is a corporate mindfulness trainer and a #1 best-selling author of The World Is Yours: The Secret Behind the Secret. The book has been seen in the hands of mega influencers like Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, Steve Forbes, and Kanye West. Kurtis is the founder of Breathwork Detox and just released his new book titled How to Thrive in the Age of Anxiety. And Kurtis, before we even get started, man, I want to, what's your Instagram handle?
Man from the Stars.
What's that all about?
Man from the Stars?
Yeah.
It's who I am, you know?
Right. I love it. So I love it. So before we get started, how I like to get these going is, look, man, you and I are creators, right? And the universe creates through us and creates moments, delivers messages, yada, yada. There's only one message that can come through you right now at this time for one of the listeners. What is that message today?
Oh, man. You know, I will say every year I have like one message, one mantra that I live by. And, you know, I'd say the first rule of karma states that whatever you want for yourself, you must do for other people first. You know, so that was like a big realization, you know, for me. And like, I was looking for a mentor. Like I wanted like this $1 billion, you know, big business mentor to help me, you know, build my success. And then I sat there and looked in the mirror. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even helping anybody. I'm not mentoring anybody. How am I going to expect to attract that if I'm not even willing to do that for somebody else? And then, so I agreed to bring somebody on. As soon as I started mentoring somebody, boom, the mentor popped in my life. So it's like, you know, we all want, but like, you know, learn to use the natural ebb and flow of the universe and to, you know, give and receive. You know, we got, you know, a left and a right hand, and we get to take as much as we're willing to give, you know?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it sounds like you get what you give.
Yeah,
right?
baby.
I mean, you know, and you know, I love the idea of you know, you're big in law of attraction, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, you know, we're talking about The Secret a little bit today. If you look at the idea of like the tortoise, right? The tortoise in the field, right? And like how it starts off kind of small from the inside, but as it goes out, boom, it gets bigger and it comes back to you, like no matter what. So like the universe is a force multiplier. Am I right?
Oh yeah.
It is. Yeah.
We're magnetic beings, man.
Yeah. Well, so let's start off, a little bit more about like where you're at today, and then we'll just kind of talk about how you got there, right? So you just finished up like this new book on breath work, and you're leading the field by doing like even corporate training with breath work. Let's talk a little bit about that, what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, I just found breath work to be, you know, literally like the most powerful healing modality on the planet right now, you know, and through my own journey, you know, I've done a lot of stuff, you know, many things that were, you know, invasive, you know, like combo, you know, putting frog poison inside of you so you can projectile vomit out toxins. Like that's pretty invasive. And then going to the jungles and, you know, drinking ayahuasca for, you know, 7 days, you know, 7 times in a row and within 9 days, like some intense stuff, and you know, other modalities, healing modalities like ozone therapy and like, you know, pretty, you know, biohacking stuff. And like when I found breath work, like it was the secret sauce, because I had a 5-year stomach issue that doctors could not tell me what was wrong with me. I'm talking dozens of doctors. And I went to one breath work and it eradicated my stomach issue. And to the point I was flabbergasted of like how that was even possible. And then it hit me. I'm like, wow, the reason why these doctors couldn't tell me what was wrong with me is because my issue wasn't physical. It was energetic. It was emotional. And, you know, and this was at the time where, you know, I'm holding on to a certification for life coach, hypnotherapy, NLP, Reiki master. Like I have all these tools, and still I was never taught how to deal with emotions, you know, how to regulate emotions, how to, you know, release the suppressed trauma and all the stuff that we all have from childhood. Then, you know, we didn't have the emotional intelligence back then to learn how to deal with it, and shit just started becoming compounded because it kept coming in, but we weren't figuring out how to deal with the old stuff. And I was one of those people, and I got messed up, you know, and started messing me up physically. So to me, breathwork was the Trojan horse. Like, I actually was taking executives and CEOs to the jungles to drink ayahuasca because I love to give people an experience, and I want to give people the results that are immediate and undeniable, and ayahuasca does that, but it's, you got to take time out, you got to go to the jungle, you got to get a shaman, but breathwork's like the Trojan horse. Like, you go in there, just say, hey, let's breathe today, and then these have these profound cathartic releases, and, you got dead methyl tryptamine, secreting, and people are like, dreaming while awake and having these epiphanies and realizations and healing traumas, all from breathing. So I'm like, okay, the world needs to know about this, man.
Yeah, no doubt. I recently, within the past probably 6 months, maybe the past year, right? Because I can't understand what happened with the time space continuum with 2020. The breath work, right? Showed up in my life, first through, I think most people right now, it's like Wim Hof, the Iceman, right? And his story. And then, another place that it showed up for me was, and I was actually a little disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. I looked at, you listed out these breath works. You need to add one. Mm-hmm. It's a Japanese breath style called like Hara, Hara. Mm-hmm. And I was reading this book by some German dude, and then next thing I know, I got a buddy of mine who just started doing some breath work, and I had my hands out. I was like, just like everything else, man, just like everything else, right? Like in this self-development space. Now I'm cool. I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be over here. I've been breathing pretty well my entire life. I don't need what you got, right? But what happened was a buddy of mine, he's like, I've been going to this thing and it's awesome. I was like, all right, I'll fucking go. Right. It'll be fine. And I went, and mind blown, dude. Mind blown. I don't have ayahuasca experiences, but I had plenty of other like you call them invasive experiences, or we'll call it that, and plenty of them, and many different varieties. And the beauty of this breath work that you're talking about is just that, right? It's clean, man. This comes from breathing.
Exactly. Everybody's holding. We all got
everybody's holding. For sure. The breath work's pretty amazing. And so you were already kind of out on in the front end of kind of like this exploratory space, though, with your life coaching, with Reiki, and doing the law of attraction, right?
Yeah.
So, and I bring that up because you're kind of already out there in the forefront and having these conversations. So what happens like when you start bringing breath work to it?
Yeah, well, I realized like once my whole first book, The World Is Yours, The Secrets Behind the Secret, was all about awakening, spiritual awakening. And it could help anyone at any level, awaken from their slumber of what's really going on in the world, the 3D world, the spiritual world. It kind of just really gave a good breakdown of the overall bigger picture. And I realized once you start waking people up, the next thing they're like, okay, I'm awake now. I can see all my stuff. My lights turned on. Now what do I do? You know what I mean? Like, life isn't all peaches and cream after you wake up. And I was like, wow, I'm waking all these people up, and, their lives aren't better. They're because, when you wake up, you start researching crazy, you go pretty much insane, for a good phase of your life. So I'm like, all right, I need to come up with a tool. And of course, I found it through my own pain and suffering. And then I found that tool, and that's why I wrote the second book. Cause I was like, it was meant to be like a gift for all the people that I woke up. Okay, now here's how you can work through all the traumas and stuff, and, and the crazy information that you have to disseminate now that you're awake. But I did realize something. I realized something super important and powerful from teaching breathwork for the last decade. I'm sorry, teaching the law of attraction for the last decade. And I realized that the majority of people self-sabotage their manifestations. And what I learned is that, I really don't have to teach anybody how to manifest, because they're already manifesting. Everybody right now listening to this, in this very moment, you are manifesting. The mechanics are automatic. I can remind you that you got to have some clarity. You have to remember and know what you want, because what you want is up to you, but how and when you get it is not. Okay. And then you're going to be able to, be able to feel we'll see the visualizations of it. If you can't see yourself achieving that, then who else can? And then if you're able to see yourself achieving that, then you're able to feel the emotions. And that is what activates it and sends that beacon out into the universe, and then you have to become aligned with that and take some sort of action that's going to give, be the breadcrumbs to you achieving what you need to achieve. That's the mechanics of it. And we do it every single day, the small things and big things. But the reason why people say, I want this, I want this, I want this, and they're not getting that is because they're self-sabotaging. Now, they're doing that for two reasons. One, they're really focusing on the things that they don't want instead of the things that they do want. And we just kind of do it naturally because our brains are hardwired that way. And I read a study that said, 80% of our thoughts, humans, are negative in nature. And 98% of our thoughts every day are the same thoughts we had the day before. So we're on this shitty hamster wheel, recycling these crappy thoughts every single day. And most of it is worry, doubt, fear, lack, scarcity. And we're focused on the things we don't want to happen. We're not tapping into the vibration of visualizing and feeling the feeling of already achieving and having what it is that you want. That's the secret. It's easier said than done. I get it. But why is that? The why is important. Why do we keep doing that? And it leads me to the second thing, and that was the game changer as far as manifesting. And what I learned is that people are self-sabotaging because they're still holding on to the junk, to the old limiting beliefs, to the old trauma, to the past breakups, to their partner screwed them over, all this stuff that they weren't given the tools of how to emotionally heal and to let go and forgive. Yeah, we know forgiveness is the root of all healing, but how the hell do you forgive? Where's the booklet on that? It's like, I didn't learn that stuff. And it wasn't until breath work that I realized, wow, I'm my own healer. I'm my own everything. And that's what I want to do. I want to empower people to do the same, because that breathing technique goes into literally every noddy in your system, 72,000 noddies in your system, and clears out all those emotional blockages. This is why you got a room full of 100 people in a breath work and you got 85 of them breaking down in tears. Now, I don't care who you are, how badass you are. I've done this in prisons. I've done this for NFL players. I've done this for war veterans. You get the baddest people on the planet. You show them this breathing technique, they're going to break down. And they're going to do it gladly, because it's stuff that they've been holding on that's just so heavy that you just can't hold on to no more, because it's weighing you down. I mean, it's literally blocking your manifestations. And once you clear out all that stuff, you're able to land or take off. Like, think about it. We all want to take off somewhere, but you cannot take off. Those people will not let you take off unless you clear the runway. Air traffic control would not let you take off unless you clear the runway. And if you're trying to land somewhere in life, then that runway has to be cleared. You need to let go so you can let in. And what happens is, when that junk's still sitting there, occupying the space that the good stuff wants to come in, right? What does that airplane do? It starts circling. It circles until the runway's clear. And that's why we feel like we're going in circles and we're on this hamster wheel. It's not because the reason why people are self-sabotaging is because you got to let go of the stuff that's blocking the way for the good stuff that you want. That's it. Release and let go.
Well, Curtis, I work so hard for all of these, emotions and all these things, right? This is my story. This is, I am this way because of the breakup. I am this way because, he kept all my CDs. I am this way. You know what I mean? So
let me say this off of that, because that is important. What you're hitting on, and it's the cause of it, actually, because, and the reason why people don't heal isn't because of their biology, it's because of their biography. The same bullshit story they keep telling themselves over and over again, even if it's true. That's what's weighing them down. That's what's holding them back. And, stored emotions create stories. And when we learn to get rid of those emotions, the stories go with them. And when we learn to get rid of the stories, those stored emotions go with it. But I realized the key with the breath work is it gets the emotions out, and then the stories come up and you realize they're bullshit and you stop saying them and you create a new narrative in your life.
No, that's awesome. So you get, I mean, through the power of breath work, you've got a kind of a release mechanism, a recharging mechanism. And, if you did it right, then, your head was supercharged. Right. And you kind of, you got these, visualizations, and you have an experience that, even if you've done ayahuasca, even if you've done copious amounts of shrooms or anything else like that in your life, this experience is wholly different than that, right? And it's, I'm not a big one to say elevated. It's an elevated experience, though, right? And in all senses of the word, because again, it's something that you just did just by breathing. You elevated your whole sense of being just in that moment, right? And you super, you got past your stories and your bullshit, right? And again, so what I'm really curious about, though, too, as you talked about your awakening experience, right? And I think that what's kind of interesting about these awakening experiences is that they can happen at any time in your life. And it sounds, you're younger than me, but that doesn't mean like you can't have that experience, right? It doesn't matter how old you are. It can come at any time. So I'm curious to hear kind of about what your awakening experience was, because like you said, when you have that, you're like, I got to go figure out what just happened to me, right? What just happened to me? And then like, you got to go learn so much stuff, right? Like, all right, well, this, it's totally real because it just happened, right? To you, right? And so tell us a little bit about that, and then like, kind of what you did to get your sea legs back, right?
Oh man, I'll say that I had the most, because I'm a very stubborn-minded Capricorn, logical, analytical. So the universe had to knock me upside the head in every direction. And I went from having zero, spiritual experiences, nothing like that would ever stand out. And within a matter of 3 months, I had every single spiritual experience you can imagine. And because I believe that they happened all at the same time, it caused me, it just like shattered my world, my reality. My life went upside down, but really I later found out it was turned right side up. And I started researching, and, luckily I had a little money saved where, it shook me so much. I didn't work, I think, for the rest of that year. And I was researching literally probably 10 to 12 hours per day, every day, where I was getting headaches and migraines. It was pretty bad. And yeah, I became obsessed because I have that obsessive, personality. And when I need to learn something, it's like I got to go all in. And at the time when I was awakening, which is probably 10 years ago, I remember searching stuff on YouTube. And I searched it all, like all the spiritual, alien, weird stuff that was there. I consumed all the content, literally all of it, where I was waiting for people to post. I had a notification. I'm like, when's people going to post? Like, I'm searching for this. I couldn't find the information. Now, today, I mean, I'd have to live, 1,000 lifetimes to be able to watch all the videos that are out there.
Yeah, no, amen, man. I mean, I saw in your pictures too, like you're hanging out with Bruce Lipton. He was definitely part of my experience of like, hey, I've got to go out there and learn everything, all of his videos and all that kind of content. So what would you say, like, what were some of the specific experiences that if you could, I don't know, share any of that?
Sure. I'll give you like the top ones. So, one was, I had no idea about the spirit world. And my brother had passed away, and it was sudden. Nobody knew who did it. It was a homicide, and I ran into a psychic, and she, I didn't believe in psychics at that time. And long story short, she connected to him. I had a conversation. I was very skeptical. Then all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, this is him. Like, his personality was coming through. He was telling me things that only me and him knew. And I was like, wow, like how is this all possible? And then he told me like what happened to him, and who did it. And it was pretty wild. And, nobody, nobody knew, and I was the only person that then, had this conversation. And then 2 weeks later, they ended up catching the people that killed him, and it was the same names he told me in the session. And I was like, what in the world? Like, how is this possible? So now I'm like, want to learn about like the spirit world. So that was like one part. And then, I started learning about the law of attraction. I read The Secret. So now I started becoming more empowered. Like, wow, like my thoughts can really turn into things. Like, oh yeah, this happened. And then the universe shows you more synchronicities, and some weird stuff started happening. And then the real weird stuff started happening where I started astral projecting. So at nighttime, where it's like, I didn't know your soul can leave your body without dying. Like nobody taught me that. I didn't read that in the manual. And I started having those lucid dreams. And then I actually seen a UFO, several UFOs. And then I learned about something called CE5, which is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, where these people from around the world, they'll go to undisclosed locations and they'll call in extraterrestrial ships. And I'm like, this is a thing? like how much is it? $300? Take my money. Like, I'm going, like, even if it's like just to prove myself. And sure enough, bro, I went to this training in Joshua Tree, and there was a 3-day training, and every single day the ship showed up.
Shut up.
And I was like, how is this not on the news? How is not people talking about this? I got a cool little certification, CE5 certified ambassador that I don't think I can show that to too many people. But like, this all happened in like 3 months. Wow. It's like, and so now my life is like completely, and you know what? And I've mentioned the ET thing because what really happened is when I saw the UFO, it was like from one moment to the next, I was a changed person. Because what happened in my brain, if I can articulate it, is I was like, wow, you know what? Anything is possible. Anything is possible. And like, I realized at that moment, oh, this is why this is the most top secret thing in the government that they don't want you to know, is because if people knew the truth about ETs, it literally expands your consciousness faster and more efficiently than any other truth that I ever had. It's like you just shatter this glass ceilings, and next thing you know, you got cosmic consciousness. Right. So I stopped thinking in 3D. And earlier you asked me, why did I call myself man from the stars? Is once I started researching and understanding the totality of who I am, why we're here, what's really going on, the greater narrative of galactic history, because there's people out there still believe Christopher Columbus discovered America. Right, the guy was given a map that was already drawn out, and when he got there, people were already there. So how the hell did we buy this when we were kids? So it's like we don't even know. And if you look at the history here in the United States, and you go to China and Russia, you're looking at completely different histories. It's written by the victors. So forget about, we don't even know U.S. history, never mind world history, forget about galactic history. And what I learned about it is that, Earth is not our home, it's our mission. There's a lot of light warriors, and light workers who came here with a very specific mission. And right now people are stepping into their power. Yeah. This is why you're here. This is why you have this podcast. This is why you created this space. This is why you have these listeners. This is why we do what we do. And it's been culminating and building up to something bigger, which is right around the horizon. And, this is why we do what we do.
Nah, that's powerful, right? It's great that you say that, right? When something is shattered, right? The illusion of something is shattered like that, then that opens up a whole bunch of other possibilities. It just says, well, if that's not real, if everything that I've been told up to this point, in this one moment, this is a pretty big moment for you. And if that's not real, then you're mind blown, right? But the other part of it too is what you do right now with the breath work. Well, if you don't even know how to breathe, what else have you been doing wrong? And that's the thing that you do every single day of your life. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That's where I got to it. That at certain point, I was like, we're not even breathing right.
We're not. When you say that, it's literally like we actually do something called paradoxical breathing. So like if I have a room and I'm teaching like 200 people in a room, and I say, hey, everybody on the count of 3, put your hand on your belly, put your hand on your chest, and on the count of 3, everybody take the deepest breath in. They go, everybody goes like that. And you see all their chest fills up and not one belly moves. But guess what? if you ever watch a fish or dog or a baby, if you watch them breathe, when they take a breath in, the only thing that moves is their belly. And that's how we're supposed to breathe. We're supposed to breathe through the diaphragms and hit that power center, because the belly is where 80% of our serotonin is produced. It's where 80% of our immune system, is. So it's like the two things we crave the most is what? Health and happiness. Right. And it's located in the gut, and we're not even breathing in there. And we actually do it on purpose, subconsciously on purpose, if that makes sense, is because the stomach is where we house our emotions. So what happens is we store a lot of trauma there. So people subconsciously don't want to breathe into that area because they don't want to feel the pain of life. But what happens is when you do that, you also stop the pleasures and the joy of life and that serotonin production in your immune system. And we got to breathe full, because when you breathe full, you live a full life. And when you breathe shallow, you're living a shallow life. Like everything is connected to everything else. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So it's like, when people come to my breathwork sessions, and we talked about this earlier, it's like, life and breathwork is like an ATM. You're going to get out of it what you put in. So we got to do deep breathing. We got to do conscious breathing. And I know it sounds so like flimsy whimsy, like, oh yeah, come and breathe with me. It's going to change your life. Or, hey, come take this walk with me, brother. Brandon, come take this walk. I'm going to change your life. It's like, come on now. But when you go to this breathing thing, you're like, your socks get knocked off. You don't know what the heck hit you, and your life changed in, 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, and 100%, right? Just like kind of like all these other things, like where you set an intention for those breathwork sessions, and you come out of it, and some of that stuff's already been done. You couple that with the power of, kind of law of attraction and thoughts create things, and when you couple that with, the emotional outlet and the visualization of a breathwork session, you're like, I don't know, you're on hyperdrive, right? Like, I mean, it's just, it's gonna happen one way or another, and that's I just think another tool that I'm curious. Now, of course, I'm like, none of it's good enough. Now I'm like, all right, well, what's next, right? Because you got the law of attraction thing, and it's pretty well figured out, right? Like, you've got that pretty much nailed down. I think one of the things that's important too is, like, you talked about kind of in the earlier, right? Let go of stuff so you can let other stuff in. Right. And that's kind of like another piece of the law of attraction. Like, people are holding on to what they've got, what already is, right, versus like, the possibility of what could be, and they're so afraid to let go of all the things they don't even want.
Exactly.
Right. They'll be like telling you, like, oh, that thing, I hate that, this thing, I hate this, that, the other thing, but I'm afraid to let go of it to get what I actually want. I mean, talk to me a little bit about through that, and like kind of how you get people past that.
I mean, that is like the ultimate paradox of life, right? It's like, we want all these things, but we're afraid to let go of the things. And it really comes down to the emotion, if you'd call it that, of comfort. We become comfortable with the pain. And the brain is not designed to make you smart and make you all this money. The brain is designed to keep you safe. And it keeps you safe by keeping you comfortable. It keeps you in a comfort zone. That's why whenever you venture outside of your comfort zone, the brain's like, whoa, 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 whoa. What are you doing? It's like, fear, doubt, failure. All these like little missiles start coming at you, trying to prevent you. And you got to overcome that, and even with breath work, the hardest part of breath work is the first, 8 to 10 minutes. And all the things that's going on behind the screen of your awareness comes to the forefront. And the brain literally tries to prevent you from continuing the breath work to have a breakthrough, because it's afraid, that it's going to be eliminated. You can kind of connect this to ego. We can get a little bit deeper, because I have this philosophy that heavy and negative energy has consciousness. It's a dense consciousness, and its greatest fear that it holds is the fear of destruction, fear of elimination. And I learned this taking people to the jungles of Peru. And when I noticed, out of 23 people, you'd have almost every single person would have these stories of how it was almost impossible for them to get there. And it was because all these things came up that tried to prevent them from getting to the jungle to have this experience, because that energy inside of them, which was a part of them, had consciousness, and it knew it was going to the jungles to be eliminated, and it did everything to prevent that person from having that breakthrough because it feared death. Right. So I think that the two reasons is one, that energy that's in us, we're comfortable with it. And when to the point where we're willing to hold on to it because we're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid what's next, even if it could be good, what not. And then the other thing is, the consciousness of these energies that are inside of us that are living, that we're looking to get out. These traumas have their own stories and personality, and, they don't want to leave. So you got you, who's the comfort, and you got the energy of that does not want to leave. And when you take those two together, which is why it's so hard for people to let go. And the reason why the breath work's so powerful, because all you got to do is sit down, lay down, and breathe, and you push that stuff out of you. It's like listen, don't worry about, just breathe, and it's going to come up, it's going to release. You might cry, you might laugh, but it's coming out.
Yeah, man, it's like a neuroblast, right? I love that idea though of kind of negative energy having its own kind of life force, right? It's kind of like, hey, I'm going to show up no matter what you do, and you have to try like hell to get rid of me, like a grease stain, except worse. But I think that one of the stories that you talked about, I think that's really interesting. But one of the things that you talked about too was, how does breath work help out with anxiety? I think you've got a little bit of a story about that as well.
Yeah, they say that right now we live in the world of anxiety. This is the age of anxiety. And I remember 5 years ago, I read an article that said by the year 2020, anxiety, depression will be the number one disabilities worldwide. Not even United States. And right now we're in 2020. What are we in? 2021. And that has fully manifested that prophecy. And, anxiety is the number one. And this was pre-COVID, when these statistics came out. So imagine, like, now we got suicide at an all-time rate. And how I feel, why breath work so powerful. Well, let's look at anxiety, because I had anxiety and I had panic attacks. And I feel like they're connected, because I tell people to make sure you kill the monsters while they're small, because what happens is stress is what you really need to look out for, because stress, when it goes unchecked, turns into anxiety. And when anxiety goes unchecked, it turns into panic attacks. And, kind of stress and anxiety in particular. What is anxiety? Why do we have it? It's fear of the future. So the body tends to live in the past, right? The mind tends to lives in the future, and the soul wants to be present. So when we have anxiety, it's because our brain is going somewhere in the future. We keep going somewhere in the future. We're overthinking. And, those thoughts kind of just circulate us. They're around us 24/7. And with the breath work, when you go in, it's not like meditation. Meditation to me, is an advanced practice. And why do I say that? I say that because if you try to, in the age of anxiety, if you try to get somebody, which is almost everybody, who's stressed out, to sit down, sit still, and don't think a thought for the next 20 minutes, you're going to be more stressed out. The fact that you can't do it. So, and what are you trying to do in meditation? You're trying to take all these 55,000 thoughts that you had during the day, and you're trying to calm them from the frantic ocean into a calm, peaceful lake without a ripple in it. Cool. If you can do that, I praise you. Great job. Now, breath work, you're taking this crazy, thoughts of everything going through your head, and you stop breathing and you're pushing them out of your energy field. Instead of waiting for them to settle, you're literally taking an action, which is great for OCD people, all these like overachievers and people who can't focus, and, ADD, ADHD, like those people, breathwork is great because you give yourself something to do and you just breathe, and you push those thoughts out. And that clears away a lot of the anxiousness that people have. And then a lot of the things that have been trapped in the body, because the issues are in the tissues, that those traumas, we store them in the body. And when you start to clear that stuff out, which is causing a lot of the anxiety, it's all connected. And, I see people, completely eradicate, their anxiety or panic attacks, from breath work. And I was one of them. This is why I'm here.
Yes, I mean, it's all part of what you do. I know you shared on another show the straw method. What's another one that you like for somebody that's anxious or maybe just trying to get a little bit of focus in the day?
You know what? The one that, like, it's going to sound stupid to everyone, but it's actually my favorite, is the sigh. It's the most underrated, a tool. Is because if you're just say in your car and you're just taking a deep breath, right? You just, and just let out this loud, obnoxious sigh. And you do that, like, let's say 3 times in a row, your energy state is going to change, because you have to look at the body. Like, because we sigh naturally. Why does the body sigh naturally? When we sigh naturally, it's to relieve pain and stress from the body. It releases, it's the pressure valve to release pain and stress. So if you experience something really stressful, the body will go, when it's all done, it's like the pressure valve, it's a release. Now, if you can consciously do the sigh and utilize that pressure valve release, it's like you're going to change your state throughout the entire day just by doing that one breathing exercise every single day, through 3 sighs at a time, 3 times throughout the day, 9 sighs a day, and you will notice a difference.
That's perfect, because it doesn't take a long time.
No,
it's not hard to remember, and you can do it just about anywhere, right? In between, I know for myself and my day job, right? I mean, I've got today, for matter of fact, I was on calls from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. right, back to back, right? But there was enough time in there for me to make a bagel sandwich. And I could have also, sighed 3 times if I needed to, right? So I could have, just kind of brought myself back to and just been like, like just a couple of times. And I'm sure that, like, I might have done it on calls, and that's not cool. They get upset with that. So make sure you're getting it in between calls. So I think that's really practical and something you can apply, like, anywhere, anytime. So thanks for sharing that. Again, a big part of this too is, like, we talked about, pulling all the spiritual stuff in and integrating it, right? Talk to me a little bit about your practice on how you've been able to do that for yourself.
I truly feel that integration is the name of the game. Being able to integrate is the game. Like, ultimately, if you look at, like, let's say the most spiritual people to ever walk the earth, you'd call them avatar masters, enlightened avatar masters, and what do these people do? Right? Let's start with an eagle. Why do Native Americans love the eagle as a powerful totem? Because it can fly super duper high. And what that represents is the ability to go up in the higher esoteric metaphysical realms and see life from a higher vantage point, higher consciousness. And then also that animal that can fly higher than most birds, it can land the ground and walk the ground with the creepy crawlers. And that is the integration. That is, the avatar. What do? They get enlightened, they ascend, and they can ascend to heaven. They get all this information of, who they are. They don't have to come back. And when they choose to come back and embody it in physical form, that's truly where their power is, to take that higher knowledge and integrate it into, physical form and deliver it in a way where the people can understand. Because you don't have to talk circles around people. You don't have to act super smart. Like, look at all the parables and, the metaphors, the simple ones, that Jesus and Buddha used. And they're around now because they're so simple. It's because people can understand them, people can relate to them, but they went all the way to those higher planes, but they were able to integrate that knowledge back into, this 3D form. And that's the value that I see around integration. So, like, how do I personally, integrate? a lot of things I think I do kind of like naturally that I don't even, realize. My daily practices, are the breath works. That's what kind of brings me up, but it also grounds you when you start breathing into the belly as well. It grounds you to the earth. There's things I do outside. I go outside and barefoot, on the grass, and I put my feet in there, and I just ground myself. I connect to the light in the earth. So a lot of people, they know we have the sun, but they don't know that there's a light in the center of the earth. And I connect to that light, and that helps ground me, to earth consciousness, because I used to just focus on like, I got to open my crown chakra. I got to open my third eye chakra. I need these spiritual gifts, and you just focus on all these chakras. And like, I realized that's not where the power is. It's like when you want to manifest, you can't manifest unless your root chakra is grounded. And this is why you see all these spiritual people, they're just like, they're all in the heart, and they're like light and love, and the third eye's open, but they're broke. And the reason why they're broke is because their root chakra, they can't manifest. They're not connected to the earth.
Well, I mean, I think it's a number of things, right? Like it's not being grounded, right? Just like you're saying right now, it's not being grounded, and just not integrating, right?
Yeah,
they've gone up, but they need to come back down.
Yeah, you gotta come back down. You gotta
come back down
into everyday life. And you know what? Part of that is being human. Mm-hmm. And you meet some people and they got a spiritual stick shoved up their ass. And I never wanted to be that person. And even like the work that I do, and I'm teaching, I'm on stage, and I never want to be put on a pedestal. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I don't is because, well, first of all, there's only one way to go from there, and that's down. Sure. And I feel like I make a practice of myself of I won't say humiliation, because I don't like that humility, humble. I'll say transparent. I just try to keep it real. I try to show people my humanity, at all times. And, I take this facade of like, oh, you think I'm this, you think, no, I'm human. I'm just as messed up as you are. Right. And when I do that, it makes me human, but yet I still have all the gifts and all the research and all the things that I'm doing to get me up there in the upper chakras. But I never think I'm better than anybody, and I don't think anyone's better than me. I just kind of stay in this place of neutrality. And I think that is the yin yang. That's the place that you want to be, between, the 5D and the 3D. You just stay neutral, stay grounded, stay present, and stay real.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, look, I don't know if you've seen the website yet, right? But I mean, it really, it says that, right? It's like, don't come at me with your patchouli, your sandals, and your wooden beads. We're cool, because there's other things going on, and that crowd, I say that crowd, I'm not trying to say that we don't need them or that or this, but it can also happen in another way. Right? Like you and I are talking about right now, just kind of like there's a grittiness to spirituality and life. There's a reality to it. And, kind of not forgetting where you came from. Right. And everybody, the person behind you could be, more advanced in a different state that you don't recognize. And since you can't recognize it, you don't think they're advanced, but they're like way beyond you. Right. And you're like, so you're like, no, man, you got to eat kale or whatever type of thing. So, I get it. So one other question too, as we kind of wind this down, I know that, you were showing me your drink that your daughter brought in. How are you sharing this, as a father, as a parent to your children?
Yeah. So, I'm a single father, and my daughter's 14 now. And I will say, because the chunk of my greatest awakening when I was kind of like obsessed was when she was really young. So she actually grew up around crystals and sage smoke in her face, and believe it or not, she has her own connection to angels. And I used to ask her for like advice, like kind of desperate, whatever. And she would give me the best advice that I've ever got. And then she like literally, when I started asking her, then she'd be like, okay, I could ask her something, and she'd close her eyes, she'd look up, and she'd get the information, and she'd come back, and she would say some things that was way beyond her years. And I was like, whoa, this girl's like channeling some good stuff. So I kind of had my secret weapon here, the entire time. And to shoot, it's been a blessing to be able to raise her in that.
Freaking mute button. So what's cool about that is, I like you're not you're not diminishing her gifts, right? I think you would probably agree that what you and I have gone through in an awakening process is more or less coming back to ourselves, right? Whereas we weren't shown who we were or allowed to be ourselves growing up, right? Like, hey, shut up, be quiet, don't do this, don't do that, and oh my God, you stop dancing like that or whatever, right? Or you can't think this and you can't say those types of things. So what you're doing though is you're saying, all right, look, come at me with your angel stuff. I mean, we've all got something, right? What's yours? And we've all got a connection. How's it going to express itself? And that's how she's expressing her connection to the divine, right? And you, instead of you saying, you better not tell anybody about that, and maybe you do, right? But like, at least you've got an open dialogue between the two of you with that, right? And I think that that's really important. That's awesome that you're doing that.
Yeah, man, it's great, and a lot of the things, like she'd give me advice on business, and, she told one of my buddies when I do book signings, she would come and she'd set up a little table and she'd say $5 for a reading. And she thought I could making money, and like it was totally cool. But she told one of my buddies, you need more confidence. You have a lack of confidence, and the girl you're with, she's no good. And he's looking at me like, dude, I wasn't ready for that. And I talked to him the other day, and he was like, dude, man, your daughter blew me away that day. She was so right. And, he never forgot that. And he used that to help him,
That's nice, man. That's cool. Very cool. So, man, the latest book is called?
The latest book is called Breathwork Detox, How to Thrive in the Age of Anxiety.
And your the book prior to that?
The World is Yours, The Secrets Behind the Secret.
Yeah, and where can I get those?
Those are both on Amazon. So you can go on Amazon. You can, the first one has an Audible. They both have Kindles, and they both have paperbacks. Who
is your ideal client?
My ideal client. Great question. My avatar. Let's say, I love people who are skeptical at first, and then they come in and their world gets rocked, they heal, and, then they're fully committed. They awaken, and then they start to step into their power, and, then they start to, do what I do, whether it's, teacher trainings or, writing their own book and telling their own story and all the things that they always wanted to do, but never thought that, anyone would listen or anyone cared. I just like empowering people.
Perfect, man. And then the website, and where can they reach you?
So they can go to my website, manfromthestars.com, or they can go to my Instagram, which is manfromthestars. And I'm pretty active on IG, so you can send me a DM, and hopefully I can get to it.
Awesome, Curtis. Thanks for stopping on Spiritual Dope today.
Thank you so much. Great for having me. And yeah, that website is awesome that you have, and I was looking forward to this.